Hello wine people, welcome to the video on red and rosé winemaking. This video is part of the Thirsty and Wise study and support program for students preparing for their WSET level 3 in wine course and exam. In this video, I will be explaining the differences between crush fruit fermentation and whole bunch fruit fermentation, inexpensive versus premium wines, rosé winemaking, and as an example, I'm going to be using Cabernet Sauvignon that will represent any kind of thick skin grape variety, and a Pinot Noir that will represent any thin skin grape variety for the winemaking purposes. So again, this video is part of the first 76 pages of the book. That is very important because it will apply for the rest of the book and the course. So pay close attention and let's go. So, like I presented the white winemaking, I'm going to be using the same format to present the red winemaking steps. So on the left side you have the number of the step. There's also the same amount of steps like for white wines. Of course, there's going to be separate steps that I'm going to be explaining for the whole bunch fermentation. Again, if you can remember all the steps, excellent, but there's what you actually need to remember is the most important steps that will create the biggest impact on the style of wine. So the steps mentioned, the steps colored in green are the mandatory steps that you cannot skip in the process of red wine making, but I'm going to be highlighting and talking more about the steps that are more important than others. So first things first, I'll explain the crush fruit winemaking steps. So we're going to start, of course, with the grapes. Any kind of grapes. Grape sorting is used for premium wines. The stemming, so this was not the important step in white winemaking. The stemming is a very important step in red winemaking. So high tannin grape varieties, like for example Cabernet Sauvignon, will usually have the grapes destemmed because stems contain tannin, and Cabernet Sauvignon already has high levels of tannin, so it's not really needed for a Cabernet Sauvignon or for a thick skin grape variety, where for a thin skin grape variety like Pinot Noir, it can actually add a little bit more structure, tannin structure to the wine. But the important thing is, if you're including the stems, which means that you need to hand harvest, you need to make sure that the steps are ripe so they don't give bitter green tannin to the wine. Crushed fruit, alternative for whole bunch fermentation. So I'll be explaining whole bunch fermentation separately. So fruit will be crushed in order to release the juice. This is very important to have the skins in contact with the juice. So this is one of the major differences between making white and red wine, where the skins of white grapes are not included in the fermentation. So before the fermentation starts, you can do a pre-fermentation maceration, which is an important step for premium red wine making. So with the pre-fermentation maceration, this is going to be done at low temperatures. Cold maceration, or cold soaking, how it's called, at this stage, before the fermentation starts, before the temperature and alcohol increases, at this point, you actually, if you do this step, you're actually extracting more flavor from the skins. So tannin and colors are not extracted, or very little, but the important is to extract the flavor from the skin with a cold soak. Adjustments are usually not done for premium red wine making. Alcoholic fermentation, this is one of the most important steps in red wine making. So the fermentation for red wines is going to be higher than for white wines. It's going to be around between 20 and 32 degrees Celsius. Above 35, this temperature is too high and it will kill the yeast and stop the fermentation. So extraction of color and tannin is one of the most important steps in red wine making. And at this point, you're going to be adjusting your temperature of the fermentation depending on what kind of style of wine you want to produce. So if you want to produce more powerful, more tannic, deeper color wine, you're going to ferment at higher temperatures. If you want to produce less tannin and to preserve more the aromatics of the wine, so to create a more aromatic and more elegant red wine, you're going to be fermenting at lower fermentation temperatures. Cap management is very important. Different cap management techniques like pumping down, punching over, remontage, or rotary fermenters can be used. Punching down is the most delicate way to extract color and tannin, where pumping over and delastage is the most aggressive way to extract color and tannin. Vessels, open top fermenters can be used. Oak, possible, but very, very challenging because you have the skins included. Concrete and or stainless steel can be used. Post-fermentation maturation. So after the wine finishes the fermentation, the skins can stay longer on the juice, and with this you're going to extract even more tannin from the skins. And the idea also with a very long post-fermentation maturation is that tannin can get more smoother and get more well integrated in the wine. Drain free run juice. Yes, free run juice is going to be the most elegant, the highest quality juice. Different pressings, different fractions can extract, will produce juice that has more color and tannin that can be used later on in the blending. Malactic conversion will always be done for the red wine. It's not really something that is necessary to be mentioned. You have the newly made wine. Blending is, of course, like for white wines, a very important step. For premium wines, blending is going to be done for the style, for the quality, for the complexity of the wine, versus inexpensive wine. It's all going to be about consistency and quantity reasons. So blending can be blending different grape varieties from different locations, different fermentation techniques, different cap management, different fraction, blending of different fractions, blending free run juice with different fractions. Maturation, very important step for red wine is maturation. Oak doesn't have to be used, but in many cases red wines use oak. So oak of different types of oak, different duration of aging in oak. Oak alternatives are going to be used again, like for the white wines, for inexpensive wines. Again, blending can be done pre-maturation and post-maturation, just before bottling. Again, with the same things can be done. Clarification and stabilization will be done. Again, for premium wines, it's going to be sedimentation, more gentle clarification, where for inexpensive wine, it's going to be very fast and easy with filtering the wine. Premium red wines are going to be bottled and with a natural cork, and premium wines are always meant for aging in the bottle and to develop tertiary character, where simple, inexpensive generic wines are meant to be consumed young and fresh and simple, while they still have the bright, fresh fruit, and can be bottled in the bottle, screw cap or natural cork, and can be also plastic or bag-in-box, and the wine is ready for sale. And inexpensive wines are not meant to be aged. They will not benefit from further aging. All right, so these are the steps for winemaking for crushed fruit in general. And but first, before I make a difference between making inexpensive and premium wines, I want to explain you the 3 ways of whole bunch fermentation. which is usually done and mentioned for Beaujolais wines, Beaujolais Nouveau wines, simple Beaujolais wines, generic wines from Beaujolais, but can also be used for wines around the world. So the three methods are fully carbonic maceration, semi-carbonic maceration, and whole bunch mixed with crushed fruit. So let me explain all three of them and highlight the differences between them. So fully carbonic maceration, only whole uncrushed bunches are going to be used, which means that you need to hand harvest the grapes. Vats are going to be filled with CO2, with carbon dioxide, in order to remove any oxygen. The vat, so that is filled with CO2, you're going to be placing the whole bunches inside. The vat is going to be closed because of the lack of oxygen. So this CO2 is very important. It's going to remove any oxygen from the vat, and because of the lack of oxygen, intercellular fermentation will start inside the berry. The berry will start to ferment inside. It will start to ferment, create around 2% of alcohol. Also, color inside the berry will be created, but with no tannin extraction. The grapes are going to be split. They're going to burst when they reach around 2% alcohol. And at that point, the grapes are going to be pressed. So at this point, the wine has color. It doesn't have any tannin. You press the grapes, you separate the skins from the juice, and the juice continues fermentation of the skin. As a result of this, enough color is extracted to have pale ruby color, pale ruby or purple color, very little, if any, tannin, and the aromas of bubblegum, banana, kirsch are created as a result of carbonic maceration. Okay. Semi-carbonic maceration is slightly different, just slightly. So CO2 is not used. Vats are filled with whole bunches, bottom because of the pressure, because of the weight of the top grapes. The bottom grapes are going to start fermenting. And because they're going to start fermenting, they're going to create CO2 naturally. The vat is going to be filled with CO2. Ambient yeast will start the fermentation, creating CO2 that will fill the vat, and the uncrushed grape starts the intercellular fermentation on top. Grapes split. After the grapes split, the option is to press the grapes and for the fermentation to finish off the skin, like for the full carbonic maceration, or to crush the grapes, to crush all the grapes, and for the grapes to continue fermentation on the skins. So this is a technique that is used for more premium wines, premium thin skin grape varieties like Pinot Noir. Method used by like this, fermentation continues with the skins and potential for post-fermentation maceration. As a result, you get better integration of intercellular fermentation and grapes and aromas of a regular fermentation. Why? And as a result, you get fresher fruit character in the wine. Okay. The whole bunch with crushed fruit means that you're going to be mixing whole uncrushed bunches with crushed fruit at the start of the fermentation. So you have the fruit that is crushed, and inside of that fruit you add whole bunches that are going to be submerged in the juice, but the berries are going to be whole. No CO2 is used. Uncrushed grapes start intercellular fermentation because they are submerged in the juice. Because they're submerged in the juice, there's lack of oxygen in the juice, and the grapes start the intercellular fermentation because of that. Bunches are progressively crushed during the fermentation, More carbonic character can be achieved by increasing the amount of uncrushed grapes that are added to the fermentation. As a result of this, you have brighter fruit and silkier tannins. Okay, so fully carbonic, semi-carbonic, and whole bunch fruit mixed with crushed fruit fermentation. All right, now I'm going to be explaining high volume, inexpensive red wine making. We're not going to use any particular grape, just in general steps that are used to produce inexpensive red wines. So you're going to choose any grapes, usually grapes grown in warm climates, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Syrah, Grenache, varietal or blend wines, fruity, low tannin style. So this is the whole point of producing inexpensive red wines. Fruity, low tannin, simple red wines. Grape sorting, for premium wines, yes. For inexpensive wine, it's not really mandatory. Destemming for high tannin grape varieties, yes. Destemming for inexpensive red wines, yes. You don't want to have additional tannin or any kind of astringency in simple wines. Crushed fruit, alternative for premium wines is whole bunch fermentation. Pre-fermentation maturation, no for inexpensive wines. Adjustments for inexpensive wines, yes. Usually inexpensive wines, like I mentioned on the beginning, are gonna come from warm climate, and usually acidity is what is going to be adjusted. So they're going to be adding a tartaric acid to give a little bit more freshness to these wines. Alcoholic fermentation, so inexpensive wines are going to ferment at lower end of the fermentation spectrum for red wines, between 20 and 22 degrees, and not heavily worked cap management, and carbonic maturation in order to produce light tannin, more fruity wines. Post-fermentation maturation for inexpensive wines, no, takes space and extracts tannin, which you don't want for inexpensive wines. Free-run juice pressed right away to extract the juice and extract as much juice as possible. Pressed wine, highly pressed grapes can be used to add color and tannin. Malactic conversion is going to be done, yes. You have the newly blended wine. Blending is going to be done for volume purposes, for consistency. Maturation, storing wines in stainless steel until the wine is ready for bottling. Used oak or short period in oak can be used, but most commonly it is oak alternatives that is going to be used for inexpensive red wines. Blending for volume and consistency. Clarification, SO2 is going to be used, and the wines are going to be filtered. Packaging, usually plastic bag-in-box or glass bottles for inexpensive wines. So again, the fastest process as possible in order to produce fruity, low tannin wines. Premium red wine making, I'm going to be comparing premium Cabernet Sauvignon with premium Pinot Noir. So grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon, high tannin, high acidity, late ripening grape. Pinot Noir, early budding and early ripening. Low tannin, high acidity. There's a lighter tannin, lighter Pinot Noirs. There's also a little bit fuller Pinot Noirs. We'll explain how this can be done. Grape sorting for premium wines, yes. Destemming, yes, for Cabernet Sauvignon, for high tannin grape variety. For Pinot Noir, yes or no. If you want a very light Pinot Noir, you don't need to include stems. If you want more tannin structure in Pinot Noir, you can include the stems. Crushed fruit, yes, the fruit is going to be crushed. No for Pinot Noir if you want to include, for example, carbonic or semi-carbonic maceration or crushed fruit with whole bunches. Pre-fermentation maturation, so for Cabernet Sauvignon, yes. or for any kind of premium red wine, you want to extract more flavor from the grapes. So cold soaking done. Adjustments for premium wines, no. Alcoholic fermentation for high tannin grape varieties, you want fermentation to be on a higher level between 26 and 30 degrees. Heavy cap management to extract more tannin, more ripe tannin from ripe grapes. For Pinot Noir, if you want lighter Pinot Noir, lower fermentation temperature. If you want fuller Pinot Noir, more higher fermentation temperature, lower temperature for lighter styles. Post-fermentation maturation for Cabernet Sauvignon, yes. Usually for lighter tannin grape varieties, post-fermentation maturation is not done. That's the point, in order to produce a lighter style with lighter tannins. Drain free run juice, yes, for high quality wines. Pressed wines, gentle pressing to blend additional tannin, color and flavor. For tannin, gentle pressing for Pinot Noir. Malactic conversion is always done. You have the newly made wine. Blending is always for complexity. Best wines from specific locations. Maturation, Cabernet Sauvignon can age for a longer period of time in new oak barriques, 225 liters, between 12, 18, even for 2 years. Pinot Noir is a more delicate grape variety. It can get overwhelmed by oak very fast, so a shorter period of aging in oak. And you can use some of the grapes to age in oak, some grape varieties not to age in oak, and then use this for blending. So blended with other grape varieties for balance and complexity, blended with different winemaking techniques, like I mentioned, using oak or not using oak. Clarification and stabilization is going to be gentle for premium wines, like sedimentation. Packaging is going to be glass bottle, natural cork, long aging potential in the bottle for high tannin grape varieties. Glass bottle, natural cork, long aging potential also for Pinot Noir. Rosé winemaking, 3 different techniques to make a rosé. Direct pressing. Black grape varieties are crushed and pressed with additional pressure in order to extract little color from the skins. So this is the most delicate way to produce these wines, and this is done for Provence style. The second way is short maturation. With short maturation, these wines are a little bit more fuller. They look like pale red wines. And this is the Tavel style. So black grapes are crushed and left to macerate for a few hours. Duration of maturation determines the amount of color in the final wine. So longer maturation, you get deeper color, a little bit more tannic grip. Free run juice will be drained and fermentation will finish off the skin. So this is the fuller Tavel style. Blending is usually not going to be allowed in European Union. This is more for New World style, where you can actually blend red wine into a white wine in order to produce a rosé. So small amount of red wine will be added to a white wine. Champagne is the only wine in Europe that can actually be made in this way, and it's usually done for inexpensive rosé wines from the New World. So 3 different ways: direct pressing, short maturation, and blending. Wine people, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it's helping with the preparation. I'll see you in the next one. Stay thirsty and wise.